This is such a complicated spell. Today I want to talk about one of the most under-discussed spells that I've come across in D&D. This spell is exclusive to wizards only and is 6th level. The spell is Magic Jar. So before we jump into this, I want to say that Magic Jar is a really brain-bendy spell. So stick with me, I'll try and go through and break it down simply, but it also is just like, it's just hard to wrap your head around all the implications of the spell, which is one of the reasons I love it. So let's begin. So, I am a wizard with 6th level spells, and I choose to cast Magic Jar. First, I'm going to need some sort of container that is worth 500 gold pieces, and that's going to act as the material component. We're going to use a diamond. This is my diamond. So, I have my diamond, I cast the spell, my soul leaves my body and enters the diamond. So my body falls over and is catatonic, basically. Now that I'm in the soul, I can still perceive the world as if I was a human. I can still see, smell, hear, all those things. But the only actions I can take is to 1, either return to my body, if it's within 100 feet of myself, or 2, try and possess another body. Whoever I'm attempting to possess needs to make a charisma save against my spell save DC. If they succeed, they're immune to being possessed for the next 24 hours. If they fail, we swap. So now their soul enters the diamond, and my soul enters their body. Now, unlike us, while they're in the diamond, they can perceive the world just like we could, but they cannot use the action to possess anyone, so they are stuck there, kind of like an internal prison. Pretty spooky on their end. Now, once I have possessed a body, their constitution, strength, and dexterity become my constitution, strength, and dexterity, but I keep my intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, if it's a player character, I do not get any of their class features. However, if it's a stat block, if it's an NPC, I get all of their features. So for example, if I were to take over a fighter from the player character, I wouldn't get action surge. But if I were to take over a drow, I would be able to get their drow casting, their innate casting. So it's more beneficial to take over NPCs than it is to take over player characters. So, what happens if I die in the new body? Well, the body dies and the soul that was supposed to go to that body is released. Now, I have to make a charisma save against my own spell save DC or I die as well. And if the diamond isn't within 100 feet of me when I die, I also just insta-die. So there are some risks to using this spell. Well, what if the diamond is broken? If the diamond is broken, the contained soul goes back to its original body and you get ejected. And if your body isn't within 100 feet when you are ejected, you just instantly die. If it is within 100 feet, you return to it. So there are a lot of, hey, you just die situations here that we have to protect ourselves from, which is a big part about using Magic Jar. Here's the thing, is you can do a crazy amount of utility with this. Say you want to take over a kingdom, you can literally gift a king a diamond, and if it's nice enough, the king keeps it nearby, you can keep casting it until you possess the king, and now you're the king. You can infiltrate a whole infrastructure by starting with the guards and then moving from the guard over to the next person and so on and so forth, just swapping your soul around so that nobody really knows who the infiltrator is because you can keep swapping it. And you look like them, sound like them, so it's pretty amazing what you can pull off as far as infiltration goes. Or you can use this as a straight power boost. As a wizard, we're not going to have huge strength and dexterity, but we can now take over a body that does. So we can be freaking powerhouses, absolutely crazy strong, because we still get all our wizarding features, meaning as long as we go get our spellbook back, which is another thing we have to juggle with Magic Jar, is we have to be able to re-find our spellbook. But once we get our hands on our spellbook again, we are wizards, so we can be a crazy strong barbarian, beefy dude that can still do everything of a high level wizard. This is a pretty crazy spell. It also is kind of semi-immortality. It's kind of like Voldemort's Horcruxes, where until they destroy the Horcrux, or if the body dies and we're unable to escape in time, that's another way we can die, but the way we die is totally different than normal creatures, and so we can live through time. So that will be interesting what you can do storytelling-wise with this, which we'll get into a little bit later. So here is where I'm asking my community to help me out, because I want to come up with some contingency plans for when you are about to die and you're returning to the diamond, because if you return to the diamond and their soul comes back into their body, they can be like, it wasn't me, destroy that diamond, that's the evil thing, and they might be able to convince people to listen, and then if the diamond's destroyed, you're kind of screwed. So I kind of looked at contingency But Contingency says it has to target you, and after you leave the body, you are no longer that body, you are the diamond. I'm considering you wherever your soul is, not so much where your body is. And so Contingency doesn't work. Glyph of Warding, I was thinking you could like press it and then, you know, leave your body at that point to create a fireball, the delayed blast fireball to evaporate them after you've left the body. But you can't move a Glyph of Warding around, so that didn't work. So my buddy came up with this idea where you summon a elemental, and then once you leave the body, you lose concentration and the elemental goes mad and starts attacking that body, and so hopefully it kills it, and then you can start possessing again from there. And that's the best I've come up with so far, but I expect we can come up with better. I expect there's other contingency plans that would work fantastically. Now, as a player, what we might want to do is to like have our party drag around our body, our corpse essentially, so that if the diamond breaks, for example, we can return to our body. That's kind of high maintenance, but it is something you can do, you know, like Tensor's floating disc, or just a barbarian keeps you on their back or something like that. But all that being said, where this spell really shines for me is in the hands of a DM. How cool is the world building you can do with this spell? For example, you have a necromancer who was once running amok and left a scar in history, you know, as like a big bad villain from history. But now everyone thinks they're dead. But they're not dead, they just put their soul into a diamond and their body was destroyed. So now the enemy is literally an object, a MacGuffin. I'm calling it a diamond, but it can really be anything. And maybe the party discovers it, or maybe somebody else discovered it at some point. Maybe recently there's been an excavation done and huge historical ramifications have been found. But by entering that tomb, they found the diamond, and the diamond's now possessing people. So this enemy from old is returning, and it's such a strange enemy because it can become a reoccurring villain, because at levels 1 through 5, it can pick up a kind of rather weak body and not have its spellbook, and be trying to find, you know, its spellbook, and that can be its motivation. And then later in the campaign, it can find a more advanced body and now have its spellbook and be a more deadly enemy. And this enemy can be reoccurring, but the party wouldn't know it's a reoccurring villain because the soul keeps jumping around, and you just have to keep track of what's going on with that soul and where its object is. That could be a really fascinating villain with such, I don't know, I love that storytelling potential. I love how different it is. I can't get enough of that. I think it's amazing. So anyways, this has been kind of my, honestly, this spell could be talked about forever. I think you could do long videos on what you can pull off of the spells, and you can go through a fine-tooth comb about all of the rules as intended with it, because it has a lot of complicated situations you can bring up. But at the end of the day, I think it's an under-recognized spell that has tons of storytelling utility, and one I wanted to bring to my viewers' attention, maybe to play around with, because I know I'm going to. So I want to hear what you guys are going to pull off with Magic Jar. Let me know in the comments down below. We are D&D Daily. We release new D&D content every freaking day. So if that's interesting to you, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.